Yeah, I know it's late. Shut up.
Well, you want it. You got it. Actually, come to think of it, this and the next video dovetail pretty well with what it seems like the people want anyway. Let's do this thing. Plot summary. Our story follows a young boy who will go unnamed throughout the film, so we'll just call him Joey. Joey is currently in the middle of every kid's first great existential crisis. Is there really a Santa Claus? Joey is soon confronted with a potential answer when a massive steam engine train shows up right outside his driveway with the conductor pointedly asking him if he plans to get on board. Confused, Joey initially says no, but quickly changes his mind because FOMO is a real thing. While on board, he befriends three other kids, a boy named Billy, another boy who we'll call Eugene, and an unnamed girl we'll call Treasure. The four kids get into all kinds of trouble, much to the stress of the train's also unnamed conductor, but eventually the train leads them all to the North Pole. While there, Joey catches a stray bell that was accidentally thrown from Santa's sleigh by a reindeer, and Joey realizes it can only be heard if you truly believe in Santa Claus. Joey finally accepts that he believes in Santa and is rewarded by meeting the big man face to face. The rest of the kids all get to meet Santa next, and he offers them all some words of encouragement before giving Joey one of his sleigh bells as the first formal gift of Christmas. From there, the children are all taken back to their homes, and Joey spends Christmas morning at home. Tom Hanks is the adult. Joey then narrates that he still hears the bell all these years later, and says that all who truly believe can hear it too. End of summary. Bros. Daryl Sabara, who played Junie Cortez in the Spy Kids films, is the voice of Joey, and he does a really good job. He's very charming. He does a good job of selling the more emotional beats of the film. Like when he's shaking Santa's sleigh bell and keeps muttering that he believes until he finally hears the bell ringing. Like he's pleading with himself to just get over this mental block of his and just accept that all of this is real and it's really happening, and that it really does mean that Santa is real and he's right here. It's really good stuff. Nona Gay, who played Belinda Ali in the Michael Mann film Ali, in Z in The Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions, and also the daughter of the legendary soul singer Marvin Gaye, plays Treasure, and she also does a really great job of just being the kid who seemingly has it all figured out. She's inarguably the kindest character of the film, and is the quickest to take charge. At the end of the film, when the conductor punches a one-word message into everyone's train ticket, the word he punches for Treasure is lead. It fits very well. Joey the doubter that he is constantly questions Treasure whenever she makes a judgment call, and the only time she doesn't trust herself, she's ultimately proven right, which only reinforces her belief in herself and her decisions. She's the only character who I think doesn't have a definitive arc, but that's only because she's basically already got it figured out as is when the story starts, and the arc she does have is really just about her coming into her own, and a girl. No wonder Joey has a crush on you. Jimmy Bennett, who played Tony, the boy who always dressed as the Flash in the Eddie Murphy movie Daddy Daycare the year before this, and who would go on to play young Jim Kirk 4 years after this movie in the J.J. Abrams reboot of Star Trek, plays Billy, a lonely boy implied to be from an impoverished family, and he actually has a pretty sweet arc of his own. He admits that Christmas just doesn't really work out for him and for his family, but Joey and Treasure both encourage him to trust that it's better to just take a swing at it and to see if you can have some fun. And in the end, Billy's decision to risk enjoying himself actually pays off when he's given the gift he's always wanted his entire life, and also winds up making some pretty great friends. Isn't that sweet? Eddie Deason, who famously voiced Mandark on Dexter's Lab and Bueno Nacho manager Ned on Kim Possible, plays Eugene, and his character is pretty much exactly what you'd expect from Eddie. A gigantic nerd with a goofy, high-pitched voice who behaves in a mildly annoying way. I mean, he even tests Santa's patience at one point.
I want the first gift.
Young man, patience. And a smidgen of humility might also serve you well.
Yes, sir.
But he's just a funny little guy, and I'm glad he's here. Speaking of Santa, the big man himself is voiced by Tom Hanks, who also narrates the film as adult Joey, and also portrays the unnamed train conductor and the unnamed hobo who hangs out on top of the train. And he does an awesome job playing all of these characters, because, well, he's freaking Tom Hanks. The conductor, who I'm going to call Jonathan, is probably the closest to Tom's real voice. And I really love his delivery, especially with how much Joey's constantly testing his patience, like when he first gets on the train and Jonathan asks Joey for his ticket. Joey reaches into his pocket with a hole in it, and John is already getting annoyed and grumbles out, "Try your other pocket." But at the same time, you can tell he genuinely does care about these kids having a good time and making sure everything goes smoothly. He's so testy because all of this stuff is literally his life. It's important to him. And on the flip side, you have the hobo, who I'll call Danny, who seems to fill the role of a character who's meant to test Joey on his lack of faith. During his introductory scene, in seemingly an arrogant, delusional rant, Danny proclaims himself the King of the North Pole. Joey questions him on that, assuming that if there is a King of the North Pole, wouldn't that be Santa? Danny then responds to Joey's question with one of his own. Do you actually believe in Santa? And when Joey admits that he's not 100% sure, Danny fosters that disbelief by saying, seeing is believing. You might think that Danny exists to push Joey further into disbelief, but I think judging by the fact that you see him waving goodbye to Joey at the end of the film when the train drops him back off at his house, you can infer that Danny might actually be intended as something of a scared straight program. You see this creepy guy who does everything he can to put you on edge and encourages you to think that Santa and the whole train are a fraud, but at the same time he does nothing to actually hurt you and even tries to help you on more than one occasion. He might be there to make sure mischievous, doubtful, even suspicious kids can sate their curiosity without actually getting hurt, while ultimately putting them into a position to make them doubtful about their own doubts. And then there's Santa himself. Tom's take on the character isn't the most in-depth or nuanced take on jolly old Saint Nick, but he does come off as a larger-than-life character. The kind of character who has that sort of aura and presence where everyone around him realizes they need to just quiet down and listen because freaking Santa Claus is here. And it's terrific. Tom is also very good at the narration bookending the film, as well as doing the motion capture for Joey. In fact, you can see all kinds of Tom Hanks isms in Joey's expressions. I have my criticisms about motion capture technology being used for regular animated films, but credit where it's due, the tech can be used to great effect for making expressive characters. The songs in this film are an odd mix, but I can't say any of them are all that bad. I'm not sure the Steven Tyler song at the end of the film makes any kind of sense in context, but I also can't say it isn't enjoyable either. It's really fun. The Hot Chocolate song is delightful from start to finish, and the little duet from Treasure and Billy is just so darn sweet. It's all really good stuff. And one final point I'd like to touch on before we move on. The train engineers, Steamy and Smokey, are voiced by an actor and comedian named Michael Jeter, probably best known to folks of a certain age as the character Mr. Noodle from the Elmo's World segments on Sesame Street. That's Mr. Noodle actually spelled out, not Mr. as in M-R period. Michael Jeter sadly passed away in March of 2003, making Polar Express his final role. Jeter as the engineers makes for a very silly and endearing performance that makes for terrific entertainment. I've said on multiple occasions that the world is always a poorer place when talented people leave it, and Mr. Jeter was no exception. May he rest in peace. Cons. The film is a little too heavily reliant on first-person shots for the more spectacle-driven sequences. It's great for watching in a movie theater or on an especially big TV screen, but on your regular TV screen or your laptop or your smartphone, things like the train suddenly going down on a steep hill feel more like a theme park ride that you aren't actually riding on than they do parts of a film. This movie would probably kill with a 3D remaster, but as it stands, I think it would be more exciting if Zemeckis actually let us see these characters' reactions more. I talked about this last year when I did my Christmas Carol discussion, but this was the first time motion capture technology was used to make a full CG animated movie. And while I applaud Robert Zemeckis' ambition, I don't think it 100% works. While the characters are wonderfully expressive, as I've already said, at the same time, their eyes often look just completely dead, and it's pretty unnerving at times. And the actual quality of the animation has not aged well. The characters all look a bit undercooked, like the animators needed to give them one more cycle before the picture lock, but instead they just shipped it out like no one would notice. And, well, we noticed, Bob. Ooh boy, did we ever notice. Yeesh. Final thoughts. The Polar Express is a modern classic. It's not my favorite Christmas movie ever, but it's undoubtedly a great one. It's a very tender film. It's pretty easy to be cynical about this movie, but I think it's just a good movie to watch with the kiddos and with the family. That's all. That's all I can really say. I'm going to give Robert Zemeckis' The Polar Express a 3.5 out of 5. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. And if you did, feel free to check out my playlist of Christmas reviews. I've got that in the annotations and in the description box below. I've done videos about Elf, A Christmas Story, Mickey's A Christmas Carol, The Muppet Christmas Carol, Disney's A Christmas Carol, and the Home Alone series, and even the 2011 TV movie 12 Dates of Christmas. But if you're in the mood for something a bit less festive, We got a few reviews talking about the Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise, plus several videos talking about so many comic book movies. I've got one last movie I want to talk to you all about, and that's going to be my Twitter buddy Arkantel's pick, A Charlie Brown Christmas. Stay tuned for that, and until then, have a great day, everyone. Woodstock out.